The views expressed in the following program do not necessarily represent those of the staff, management, or owners of WGBB.
Welcome to Late Night Parents. This is Dr. Michelle, and we have...
Rich. Oh, I'm sorry, I just cut you off. I am so sorry. And this is Rich.
And we are missing our buddy tonight.
I know, I'm like, got my empty seat next to me on my right here. I almost don't know what to do, you know?
Yes, our handsome host, Ted Hicks, he's not here with us, but we do have a replacement in his absence. We have our guest host, Allison Johnson, and we're going to do a little formal introduction to her in a few minutes. But we're very excited about our show because this is going to be the last live show for 2016. And we're all looking forward to 2017, I believe.
Yeah, 2016 was a very busy year. Lots of things going on in the past year. I mean, the elections. There were so many stories, it seemed, in pop culture and politics and media. But I thought this was a pretty good year, all in all.
I think so, too. All in all, I think it was. But I think we're going to just sort of jump right into our show. And what we should probably talk about is over the past week, we've gotten a little chilly. It's been colder than usual, so we can't be fooled by what happened today, that today was a little warm. I think we had it in 50 degrees today in New York.
It was, compared to yesterday was, and actually it was the day before yesterday, 20 degrees. You walk outside, all that snow's on the ground. I'm like, wait a second, what is going on here? This just came out of nowhere. And then today, in the earlier part of the day, it's in the 50s.
Yes.
I think it actually hit 60.
Did it?
Yeah.
See, that's crazy. This must be the kind of weather where everyone is coming into your office because they're sick, because you don't know how to dress.
Well, that'll be good because then maybe we'll have a busy week instead of a slow week with everyone shopping. But with you, Rich, I know you love cars. That seems to be one of your passions.
Oh, yeah.
And what do we need to do to prep our cars? Because I already grabbed my my scraper for my car, so I have my snow scraper in the car already. But what else do we need to do to prepare our cars for the season of winter?
Well, you've gotten a lot farther than so many other people, it seems, because you have your scraper ready.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find mine yesterday.
Allison, you got to go out there and get it. But it's more than just a scraper. I mean, you have to, your vehicle, like your body,
mm-hmm.
the different temperature changes, the different seasons, you have to prep your car for the different seasons. I mean, there's always your regular maintenance. You have to keep checking your air pressure in your tires. Because one of the things people forget is, hot weather, air expands, tire pressures increase. Cold weather, tire pressures decrease. But you have to make sure you have the right pressure in your tires because that will affect the amount of traction and grip you have when you're on the roads. So to do that, there's always, on every car, there's a little sticker that's in the door jamb, and it'll tell you the recommended air pressure to put in your vehicle. Don't go by what's on the tire. And that's what a lot of people do. The tire has this recommended high pressure setting on it, and people will go and set that. That's the maximum that specific tire can handle, but that's not necessarily what's good for your vehicle. So you always want to go by what's on the vehicle.
But that's funny that you mentioned that because on Friday, I decided to stop by the dealership because my low tire pressure light came on, and then I noticed my signal light was beeping kind of fast.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, that means the bulb is getting ready to blow.
Yep. Did they also give you a little check there and make sure your oil levels were right? How long has it been since you had your oil
now,
change?
Do you see my face here?
I'm looking at your face.
So what happened was they were finished with my car within like 5-10 minutes, and they're like, Dr. Michelle, you're finished, but we have some other things we need to discuss. Your tires need to be replaced.
Now,
and your brakes need to be replaced.
Now, see.
Wow. Lovely. Lovely.
Do you know how to
the week
check?
Before Christmas.
You can visually inspect your tires yourself, and it's really, really easy. Any tire in like the last 50 years has a little marker you can look at, and with your finger you can look at it and you can see if it's about that time for you to change your tires. So, really easy. Go to your tire and look on the tread.
Mm-hmm.
Inside the grooves between the tread, you can see little bumps. As the tire wears down, of course, those bumps get higher and higher to the surface. If those bumps aren't really bumps anymore and they're level with the tread, you need new tires. And if it's getting close, you need to know that you'll need tires pretty soon. Brakes are a little more to inspect. You have to kind of know what to look for, but you can visually inspect your brakes yourself. But, if they're telling you need tires, take a look at them. If it looks like what I just kind of described, especially because the cold weather's coming, the ice, the snow, time to invest in some new tires.
Yes, I left the car at the dealership for the weekend.
I noticed that. I didn't see the normal vehicle outside. I did see that. So good. You don't know sometimes. I'm not bad-mouthing any dealerships whatsoever. I have no idea where you went. Especially it seems like women. My wife is one, going to the dealership, going to not trusting them because so many people have had bad experiences. But I think most of the time, things like that, they are telling you the truth.
Yes. That was a real one.
Yeah.
I believed them. I saw it. I believed them. So I left the car.
And, so tires, good. Brakes, good. How old is your battery? Do you know?
3 years.
Okay, so you should be okay there, too, because batteries, 4 or 5 years, start to go. And, if you get out there, especially in either the very, very hot weather or the very, very cold weather, you go to start the car, and instead of the winning it, normally it goes, it's letting you know, you know what?
It's on its way out.
It's on its way out, exactly. Okay. And that, the next day you might go out there and just hear click, 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 and battery's done.
Okay.
So, it's things like that. Of course, as always, you need to check your fluids, antifreeze, oil. For cars that have transmission fluid that you can check, you need to check those levels. You took your car for the oil change, so they would have done all of that.
The oil change, I'm straight till February.
Yeah. Well,
great. Okay.
It's not necessarily age; it's mileage.
Okay. Well, I'm not. I really don't travel that much.
Right.
So
okay. So
the winter
you're
time is when
good.
we travel more. So
really, you're probably good for more than February. But my guess is they probably put in oil specifically for cold weather. So there's even different viscosity levels for oil. And in the colder weather, you think of it like honey. You ever put honey in the refrigerator and then trying to pour it out, or have it somewhere cooler and trying to pour it out, and how thick it is? Oil does the same exact thing. Colder weather, it's thicker, and it's got to take longer to circulate within the engine at startup. So you also have different thicknesses of oil, which sometimes you'll put a slightly thinner oil in during the winter because cold weather, you need it to circulate sooner.
Okay.
And those are the things you just need to keep an eye out for your vehicle come winter.
No, you're too kind.
No problem.
Well, I have a couple of tips. And tip number 1 is always dress for the weather. I don't appreciate when my patients show up in the office in the wintertime or when it's a little chilly out without wearing stockings or wearing open-toed shoes, saying they just came from getting a pedicure done.
And can't mess up those toenails.
And they have flu symptoms. Cold, runny nose, little sniffles.
Well, let me ask you, with having open feet give you a cold or flu or the symptoms?
Well, wearing open-toed shoes, you have to dress when it's appropriate. That's
I'm
the
with
weather
you. I'm
where
totally
you should be covering up your toes.
Okay.
Covering up as much body tissue as possible. No one needs to see that skin.
I would probably be guilty.
You would be guilty?
I would be guilty.
Allison says, I'm going with fashion, I'm going with style, and I just have some slightly cold toes.
Exactly.
But that's okay.
It's just for a moment. I'm in and out the car.
I hear you. That's all right. I'm with you.
Well, tip number 2 is always stay hydrated. So you see, whenever we have the show, I always bring you a nice
thank you.
bottle of water.
My bottle's right here. I also came with
it's
my
important
supply.
because people always think that when it's cold out, that's the time to stay hydrated. It's even more of a time during the wintertime because we have a tendency not to sweat that much. So we are thinking that we're fine, but we're not really fine.
Right.
And also, since it's holiday time, avoid excessive alcohol or even a little bit of alcohol because alcohol is diuretic. So you have a tendency to dry out some.
Got it.
My tip number 3 is try taking a hot and cold shower.
A hot and cold.
Hot and cold shower.
At the same time.
In that order?
Back and forth, make it hot, then make
Okay.
it cold, and then as you get ready to get back out, make it hot again, because when it's hot, it warms you up. But when it's cold, it stimulates the body and it increases your immune system.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So it's a protective factor.
That makes sense. All right. That's funny. You just mentioned the hot and cold. I read something not too long ago that they were saying that it might be a good idea to sleep in a slightly cooler room for some of the same reasons, increasing your body's metabolism and just overall makes you healthier. That you know we've made our lives so comfortable that we're kind of weakening ourselves.
And that's
overall.
that's why they say it's best to sleep naked. Don't wear any pajamas. Just sleep naked and lower the temperature, and your body works on its own. And especially helps to have you lose weight too.
Interesting.
So those are all key things.
I think I'm gonna have to give that a try.
All right. So jumping in, 2016.
What a year.
Yes, what a year. So what we're going to do is we are now going to introduce, and you've heard the voice off and on for the last few minutes, Allison Johnson, who is going to be our guest host this evening. And Allison is the director of BET, the research department, and she's a true lover of media and culture. She's an expert in analyzing the viewing behaviors and trends among BET's audience. She loves working with her church media's ministry, keeping them informed and up to speed with media and technology. And I love that fact because I think it's important that we show that media affects all of us and we should be using technology in all fields.
In all aspects of our lives.
That's right. Yeah. So in her free time, Allison consults on brand building and marketing. She's a graduate of Rutgers University and holds a Master's of Science from Brooklyn College in TV, radio programming, and management. So welcome, Allison Johnson, to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here tonight.
Happy to have you.
Yes, thank you very much for braving the cold to come out with us.
So tell me more about what you do at BET.
Well, I help the network to understand where our programs need to fall on the schedule. So it's analyzing our performance, looking at the competitive landscape, and understanding where programs would have their best fit, you know, in terms of attracting more viewers and in terms of beating the competition.
So you look at demographics, you look at
a lot
times.
of demographics, a lot of Nielsen data, you know, analyzing, you know, what's working competitively, what people are tuning into, where the trends are, and just, you know, helping us to schedule more competitively.
Oh, okay. And this is for the national programming, regional?
Yeah, it's national.
Okay, okay. That's got to be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Never a dull moment in television.
That's true. Well, I guess starting with 2016, there are so many things that happened, but one of the things that I think that we all have in common was on April 21st, 2016, which I think for me was one of the saddest days of my life, because someone who I felt was really close to me, not necessarily that I've ever physically touched them, passed away. And I was in my office, I was seeing patients, I walked out of one of the exam rooms, and I heard a patient saying, oh my goodness, couldn't believe what had happened. And I was like, what's going on? And she said, Prince died.
And you're like, no.
And you're like, it can't be.
Prince who?
No, it was not Prince who. And just from the look on her face, and then we quickly changed the channel, we saw it was Prince Rogers Nelson.
Yeah, we were actually in a programming meeting that day, and we saw, you know, some of the early reports that someone had been taken from the house, and we just wanted to wait before we moved with it to report it. We were in shock, you know, in the office, couldn't believe it, and it was a surreal moment.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, you know. As an artist, I mean, he's always been one of my top 3 artists of all time. And, you know, we're at close in ages here, but I mean, you know, the 80s was Prince's heyday.
That was his era.
That was really his era. And that's what, you know, getting out of school, getting more into music at the time. You know, I had so many friends all around the country, and that was one of the things that brought us all together was Prince, his music, you know, and it wasn't just that he was in any way, shape, or form one style of music. He crossed all genres, you know. You could see blues, you could see rock, you could see some jazz, and you could see all the things he did all on his own, which was just out there. You know, all the different instruments he played. He wrote everything. He played 20-plus instruments. He could perform everything. He's got thousands of songs, you know, in a vault still, unreleased. That'll still be sitting there.
And we'll probably never, ever hear some of them.
The estate, you can be sure they'll release them once they get through all their legal battles. Here and there, they'll get released, just like with Michael Jackson's songs.
I recall my first time seeing Prince in concert was actually at Jones Beach.
Okay.
And Prince rolled up on a boat. And so in the distance, you could see a spotlight on the water. And you saw the boat, and it had the purple and gold balloons. And they were just coming in. It was like a speedboat coming into the amphitheater. And then all of a sudden, they released the balloons in the air. Prince jumped off the boat onto the dock and ran up on the stage, grabbed his guitar, and just started playing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was the most amazing experience I've ever had.
Yeah, I saw him twice at the Garden. It was the Sign of the Times concert, and I forget what the other one was. But as a performer, you're right. As soon as he arrived on stage, nonstop.
He just jumped right into it. There was no
hours.
introduction,
Nonstop.
nothing.
Yep.
There was
Just
no
went right
need
in.
to even introduce him.
He just
who-
went
who
right
did- who
into
didn't know
rocking
him, right?
out. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was amazing. But I think one of the things that was so incredible after his passing was learning of all of his philanthropic
Yes.
duties and where he spent his money and, you know, so many things he just didn't want known. But in his death, you learned that he was really a giver and a carer of young people.
Yeah.
And he, you know, spent so much time and money really devoting to building them up and helping to make them more successful. So I was really happy to learn of all his philanthropic duties.
Yes, and I think that too made it hurt even more with his passing, because that was a side of him that we never knew, because we knew he could act, we knew he could sing, we knew he could dance, we knew he could produce, but we didn't know that community-oriented side of him.
And the thing is, you know, obviously he wanted that to be hidden. He didn't want people to know because, you know, I guess people he might have felt people would have focused on the wrong things, you know. And you look back, there really wasn't much, we'll call it dirt, that you ever heard about Prince.
No.
I mean, you know, in his heyday, he had some women, and nothing wrong with that, but you never really heard anything bad about it.
Right.
No.
And that was, you know, all his life it seemed it was like that. So that was just
Well, he
one
was
of
like
those
a very
things.
private person.
Extremely.
You know,
Yeah.
he was very private.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was definitely something that touched everyone in the world.
Yes, and then when it came out that he had overdosed from opioid use, for me, that was even, no pun intended, but a harder pill to swallow, because back in the 80s, that was something that was very rampant in our communities. And then now to see that it's still there, but now it's affecting other cultures, it's a major epidemic.
But, you know, I think it's also a shame that it's being called a major epidemic now because it's affecting other cultures. You know, otherwise, I don't know, it's just them over there on their side, they're doing their thing, and, you know, oh well. But now it's like, oh my God, my child and my neighbor's child, they're getting these drugs, they're getting these prescriptions. And this has been happening forever on the other side of the tracks. Now because, you know, it's affecting other people, they're like, oh, this is suddenly a big problem. This has always been a problem.
Well, you can even go to CVS now and get a prescription for Narcan, which is the treatment if you overdose, without even having a prescription.
Wow.
Right.
So
Right.
that's showing where we are, and I believe now it's like the number one cause of death, accidental death, is overdose from opioids.
So what do we do?
Well, part of it has to be with education. We have to educate the parents that they need to be careful with their behavior, because it starts with, oh, I got back pain, and then the Tylenol's not working, the ibuprofen's not working.
So it's taking it up to the next level.
Yes, and then we start using other things. We start using opioids because the pain is not helping, and then we start using alcohol.
Now, Dr. Michele, would you say that this is a silent killer because people don't talk about what they're going through? Because I think most people didn't know the pain, the amount of pain that Prince was in.
Right.
I know there were a few stories prior to his death that, you know, he was on a plane and there was an emergency landing and things like that. But it seems like people really didn't know what was going on in his life. So would you say this is like something that's silent or?
Well, pain is now considered one of the vital signs that we have to discuss. So when I say vital signs, I'm talking about blood pressure as one, height, pulse, weight, respiration, and we have to ask them about pain, whether or not you're in pain, and what is your pain from 0 to 10.
Okay.
So it is something that is there, and once it starts with you coming into the office and not getting relief from prescription medicines and then not getting relief from opioids, then it leads to you using heroin, something that you can get illegally. And then your children are seeing you doing it. And then eventually, if that's what they're being modeled to see,
Right.
they start doing it too.
Right.
And whatever you leave in the medicine cabinet, I had a patient, I think it was about 3 years ago, a football player. he was in high school. He said that it was quite common for him to go to a party and they'd start drinking some beer after a game, and they would say, okay, what pills do you have?
Wow.
And they would just raid their parents' medicine cabinets. And the young player, he was 15, 16 years old.
Wow.
I had to clear him to go into rehab.
At 16. You know, you want, and this is definitely not pointing any fingers in a certain profession's direction, but how much do we also look at the doctors who do the prescribing? And I mean, that's why I say, I mean, I do realize, there have been changes in the last few years as far as your doctor's abilities to write prescriptions and how they have to write them. So now you have to do everything electronically.
Well,
right?
everything has to be prescribed electronically.
That's got to be a huge help, because I'm assuming that's a standard database now.
Well, that cuts back on our time that we have to spend writing things out, because everyone always talks about the doctor's handwriting.
Oh, well, that too. Not even thinking about that,
at the same time, now New York State has a registry. So
Right.
if we write any type of prescribed substance, we're supposed to check with the registry to see the last time someone actually went to the pharmacy with one of these prescriptions.
Now, you have to check that manually, or does that happen automatically when the prescription is?
We have to go to the website for New
Okay.
York State, log in,
Okay.
and check. So there is no flag that we have. I've
Right.
had a couple of times where patients will tell me that, they went to the pharmacy and they had problems, but those are usually the ones who abuse the system, and they usually see that I'm not the one, and if you feel that your pain is that intense, I need to send you to see a pain management doctor.
Right. Okay.
Straight to the chase.
Good.
Now, are doctors changing the number of pills that they're prescribing? Because I've had surgeries in the past, and sometimes you get 10, 20 pills, but I've only needed them for like the first day. And then you have, this excess of pills. So is that something that's in consideration?
Well, New York State, when they changed the legislation recently, they cut it down. So instead of a 30-day supply, you now get a 7-day supply, which I think will
That
cut
makes
down
sense.
on some
That
of
definitely
the
makes
Right.
sense.
That'll cut down on the kids raiding the box to get what's left in the pills.
Yeah, because there shouldn't be much.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So any other topics for 2016 you guys want to discuss?
Well, we know there was something else that wasn't quite nearly as morbid or saddening, at least personally to me. But, it did affect a lot of people. And it was big news when Brad and Angelina broke up. That's like, they were the Hollywood stars. They were the one there. They've got the kids. They got the great looks. They've got the money. Everything was looking so good. And then all of a sudden we hear these, oh, my God, they're breaking
these
up.
rumors. Yeah.
These rumors start, and then it's bam, they're breaking up. I mean, sure, I have my own opinions. I'm like Brad said, you got all these kids over here. I'm not ready for this. What is going on? But I mean, it's still sad no matter what when a couple breaks up, because
That's true.
no one goes into the relationship. Like, you hope no one goes into the relationship saying, "I'm just going to do this for a year or 2 years, 6 months, whatever, and get out of it." You go into it caring. You go into it thinking this is going to be the long-term thing, and then it ends. And then again, they do have the children involved.
Right.
Here.
No one wants to break up a family.
Right.
That's
Right.
really what the crux of this
Yep.
is.
Yes.
Is breaking up a family and the impact that it has on the children.
Yes. And I guess, too, the main thing is, like, how do we deal with divorce or any type of separation? Not necessarily we as adults, for the children.
Right.
Because we are all parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, godmothers, and we're part of the family. So what do we do?
Right. And I guess it's case by case. You just have to, I guess, give the children as much of a stable environment as you can during, while it's going on. See which parent they're going to go with, if they go with one on a full-time basis, or, if they're splitting them. That's got to be, I would think, a little harder in some ways, because I think kids need, again, that stable environment. Let them stay in this one place. This is home.
And they need the reassurance from both parents.
Right, right.
You don't want, children in the middle of the fight or the
Right.
spat. You want them feeling loved. You want them feeling secure. But you also don't want them to stay in an environment where there's constant fighting and it's uncomfortable.
Right.
So you have to look at the balance of both. You don't want couples to stay together for the sake of the children, but then, other things are sacrificed.
Yes, because when they have a tendency to do that, the children pick up on
course.
the animosity and the tension between the parents,
Right.
and that affects them.
Yep.
And then that leads to, them having to see one of the guests that we've had before, either the social worker or the psychologist for counseling.
Yeah, I guess it's just really important to also let the children know that it's not their fault. Because that could make things so much worse down the road. They internalize it, they start blaming themselves, and
Exactly. And unfortunately, Brad and Angelina, they're in the social media spotlight. So this isn't a private action that's happening, but this is playing out very publicly.
Right.
And there's documentation. So years later, as these kids grow up, they can go back and look at the footage and see how it was handled, read more about, the rumors and things like that. So we have to be really careful as to, how this is covered, from a social aspect as well, because there's a record of this.
Right.
And, the children can go back and see the record.
Yes, that's so true.
For children in the media, in the spotlight, that could have a double-sided effect because, it may turn out that what's in the media and what's published is really totally different from what they
It
experienced.
may not even be true.
Right, right. And they'll be reading it like, that is not how this went down.
Exactly.
I was going to say, yeah, especially it might not be true because this morning when we were at brunch after church, my mother said, "Oh, did you see about the cell phone for that guy who blew up in his face?"
Oh, yeah. I just saw that before we were leaving.
CeeLo.
CeeLo, yeah.
But, she doesn't know who
Right,
CeeLo is.
right.
Yeah.
But all she knew is that somebody's cell phone blew up.
And it wasn't true.
Yeah, but she didn't know that part.
I was looking at it. I'm like, I didn't get a chance to research it more. I'm like, that just doesn't look right. Just the video didn't look right. And see, it's not true. See?
Yes. Now, for Allison, what did you consider to be like one of the things for 2016?
I guess for 2016, it was a lot of the hashtags, particularly, among, the lives that were lost, from police brutality. So, I felt for it. I felt for the victims. I felt also for the police officers, having been a daughter of a police officer. So, it was painful to see story after story, of senseless killings that happen across our community. So I just pray for those families. I pray for the officers who, put their lives on the line every day when they're putting on their uniforms and they're going to work. And I pray for this country that we find a way to have balance and to restore some sense of dignity for all people's lives.
Right.
But then now, we all pray, but then what do you think we can do as everyday people so that people don't have that animosity or the hate towards police officers?
Well, I think working in the media, we have to show the good that officers do. I think the stories have to be more balanced. I think there are times when we're always showing the animosity and the anger on both sides. But I think we have to get to a way that we're able to show the positive roles that police officers play in the community and the positive way that the community engages with these officers. Because I think there were some really good examples that we've seen across the media, and I think some of those examples need to be played up better.
Sure, I would agree. But, I'd also say, not that it was a positive, but just all the negative getting out there caused a lot of people to stop the denial. Because there were always so many that said, "Oh, that didn't happen. Oh, what do you mean you can when you're walking through the store, someone's following you and check?" See, yeah, it happens all the time. Oh, no, it doesn't. You're just imagining things. This brought to light to a lot of people that, and in a way they couldn't deny it.
Right.
When the police officer has that camera and his partner has the camera, and you see what happens, and there was no justification for it. At that point, people had to stop and say, "All right, maybe some of what we've
There's
been
some
hearing,
validity to
there's
this.
something to this."
Yes.
Right. Not that it was good, the acts themselves, but bringing light to the situation was a positive. So yeah, I agree. You got to hope that over the upcoming years, and especially with the political climate, that people can just step back. It's all about patience. Step back, don't jump. and just cooperate with each other.
I think the key word here is dialogue. We have to have more dialogue. I think when we look at Colin Kaepernick, I think the dialogue that he began, whether you like or dislike his position, it brought about dialogue that wasn't happening. And I think dialogue only gives us the opportunity to see other experiences and to know that the experiences we have aren't the only experiences that are out there.
Right.
All of us come from different places, and we have different experiences.
That's true. I was going to say, even us sitting here at the table, we all have different experiences and different interactions with police officers. And, you coming from a background with a parent that was actually an officer, I have friends, I have family members, but I know it has to be hard just knowing that you leave the house or your family member is leaving the house and you don't know if they're ever going to come back in one piece because of how the world is out there.
Right.
And on the other hand, here I am as a mom of twin boys who are approaching becoming teenagers, being scared because they have to leave the house, and how they act and how officers act toward them because of past experiences that officers have had with children that look like they do.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's a major concern. And then here on the other hand, you have your college students who are young men, and you have one who has graduated who now lives on his own.
And it's the same situation. And, the one that's on his own is out there in Dallas in Texas. So, we make some assumptions about Dallas and about Texas just, because of what it is. But, yeah, you have to think about these things. And I'm, talking about police, the same thing. Friends who are, always had friends who are officers, close friends. Myself looking to be an auxiliary police officer for Suffolk County.
Oh, wow.
I've got applications in. We'll see how that goes. But
learn something new every time about you.
Yeah, little things going on.
I think one of the things that also came out, particularly what happened, I think it was in Dallas, there was a lot of recruitment for more police officers. Right. And I think if, more people who look like us, become a part of the process, you can only help the process by becoming a part of it.
But you have to get the people that look like us to want to do it.
That's true.
The test is open to everyone. You've got to take the test to get
That's
position.
True. You have to be a part of it.
Right.
Well, we have to know that the test is out there, and then at the same time, we need to be prepared to take the test.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we also have to see ourselves in a position that we can make a change if we were to take on these type of roles. So we have to see ourselves there.
Yeah, this is true. So what else on C2016? See, now I look at the technology side of things for 2016. And
I knew you wanted to talk about technology, so go right ahead.
Well, I even have some notes here. But one of the big things earlier in the year, and we had discussed this one briefly. Remember when we had the tragedy out in California? You had the couple that shot up a number of people, killed a number of people, and they had a phone.
Shooting.
Yes, they had the phone. And, FBI is telling Apple, you guys have to open this phone, release the data on this phone so we can get to it. And Apple said, no, we're not going to do it.
Right.
I felt that, Apple should have done it in that situation. So did a lot of other people. But, First Amendment rights, some people said, no, don't do it. But the FBI found a way and got it done anyway, which now I think kind of changes the game, because now it's gone from, being a corporate responsibility to now the government just has the ability to do it if they need to now. That was a big thing.
But you know what? You now have the realization that they can, because they're the government.
Always
but
knew
now
they
it's
could.
official.
Yeah,
Right?
They had the money. They gave it to a third party, and that third party did it.
Because I know when I called Apple, when I had my iPhone and I was trying to unlock the phone because I couldn't remember the password. Sorry about that. I had a moment, and it said you had one more try, and I called Apple, and they said, they're sorry, nothing we can do because that's a privacy thing. And hey,
and you were just out of luck.
I should have worked for the government then.
Should have worked for the government.
Probably would have worked.
Or found the guys who the government paid.
If you don't see me, you'll know where I am next week.
Okay, all right.
They're coming for you.
They're coming. What else was big? Cuba.
Yes.
That's the big thing. And I've always wanted to go to Cuba, and now it has opened up for us to travel.
Are you planning a trip anytime soon?
I think we should go as a radio show.
It's there. It's
radio show trip.
There you go. So we have to get someone to sponsor this for the radio show.
Ted Hicks will be
BET
sponsoring.
could sponsor this.
No, Ted Hicks.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Ted, wherever you are right now enjoying this break, start preparing to sponsor us to go to Cuba.
That's a beautiful present.
I'm down. I'd love to come back and be a guest host on that trip.
Well, you know Ted.
Two of the guys who work for me are from Cuba.
Wow.
And one of them, he just came over like 6 years ago.
Wow.
So, of course, with Fidel Castro passing away recently, that's also huge news.
Mm-hmm.
And still, a lot of Cubans are on both sides of the fence there. Some of them are so happy now because they feel it's freeing and empowering them, and the others are still like, well, he did a lot for the country, which he did. Can't deny that. But, yeah, Cuba would be a nice place to go.
Yes, that's true. But with all of the people that have passed for 2016, who do you think? Because you already know who my number one was.
Prince actually would have been my number one as well.
Okay, well,
Or
he was my
most
number
missed.
one.
How are we going to rephrase that?
He was
Most
my
missed.
number one. I went first.
All right, you got that.
So, Allison and Rich, who do you think? For you personally.
I think the passing of Muhammad Ali
That was big.
was major. I was saddened, to see him passing, but I'm happy that he's no longer in pain. And I just, for lack of a better expression, I enjoyed his funeral.
Okay.
I enjoyed learning so much about, again, his philanthropic, activities and all of the giving and all of the people. He brought together some of the most diverse people, whether they were comedians, they were politicians, they were people from the community of faith, and it was varied communities of faith that you saw represented at his memorial service. So I was just so inspired by the life that he lived and all of the things that he did to bring people together. That really touched me.
And, especially in his life, where at certain points in his life, he had so many people against him, actively against him.
And that didn't make him bitter.
Right.
Not at all.
And that was probably the key
Right.
to the rest of his life, and how people, those who had to feel they had to forgive him, forgave him. And, just made him a positive factor around the world.
Yes. That's true. And he was such a family man, too.
He was.
And I think I really felt, with his passing, too. And I remember him as Cassius Clay.
Right.
That's true.
Ali.
So, Rich, your turn.
There were so many people. I mean, honestly.
All right, I'll give you two.
No, I've got a bunch, but, it's funny. So, not that this person had a huge, we'll say, impact on my life or anything, but it was like kind of sad when she died. Florence Henderson.
The Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
It's like that was.
She was
that
iconic. I think
everyone's
it was
mom
more
sort
that
of
she
thing.
was iconic.
Exactly.
And we
Grew
grew
with
up
her.
on that family.
So it was kind of sad when she passed away. Someone else passed away today. Zsa Zsa Gabor passed away today.
Yeah, that's what Mother was
Sad.
telling me when I was heading into the show.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Alan Thicke, was it 2 days ago? Yesterday?
Yes.
2016 was just a seemingly bad year for celebrities.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just those getting older and accidents, things like that. But
Most definitely.
rest in peace to all of those who over the last year have passed away.
I think one of the things also that struck me about 2016 were some of the younger people that died. Like when I think of Phife Dawg,
Yeah.
And he died, I believe, of complications for diabetes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as a young person, I just think that's something that, we can work better at and improving our health. And you as a doctor, you're always encouraging that. But young people don't have to die of diseases like that. So, I think, there's more conversation that needs to be had, particular among younger people, and living their best life moving forward.
But you know what happens more so in my office is that we'll get a younger person who will come in or a man who will come in after someone such as Phife passes because they feel, oh my gosh, that's somebody that I know, that's somebody that I grew up with. And that makes them see that they're not going to be around forever.
Right.
And if this person who had quote unquote money or a great career passes, then that means that can happen to me.
Right. If it can happen to someone else, it can happen to me.
right.
That's what my mother taught us growing up.
Yes, and as a physician, my main thing is prevention. So many
Sure.
things are preventable, and that's one of them.
And he had been fighting that for years.
Yeah.
It wasn't even new, so it was really, had been
Yes.
affecting his body for all that time.
And even if he was a type 1 diabetic, something that's diagnosed a lot earlier,
Right.
there are certain things that you can do to prevent it from getting worse. And that's something that can't be stressed enough, that we need to focus on prevention.
Taking care of yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think as we look ahead to 2017, that needs to definitely be a goal that all of us aspire to, is taking care of ourselves and really doing everything that we can to live our best life.
Did you just see my notes? Because I wrote that down. Health goals. Right here. No, but I mean, that's something that we need to fully engage in and make that a part of our life. I was talking to one of my friends a couple of days ago, and she said, in our family, when I say our family, I'm talking about those of us at the table now, we don't grow up necessarily saying, okay, like, let's exercise or let's go outside and take a walk after we eat.
Right.
But certain other families, that's a natural thing. So as soon as you eat, we're going to go outside and get some fresh air.
Right.
Oh, you know what? It's beautiful outside. Let's go for a bike ride. Oh, you know what? Let's go camping.
Yes.
Let's go ride our bikes. But for us, everything has to be more of an experience. Well,
And it's an experience around food.
Yes, it's experience around food. It's an experience around
we focus
food.
celebrations around food. That's
We
a whole
do.
other conversation.
We have a
but yeah,
tendency.
yeah.
But then, one of the things, because Allison will tell you, Allison has been with me and we've gone, quote unquote, hiking.
All right.
Yes, we have.
Nice.
And we found some Nigerian dwarf goats that are our good friends. Right?
I need
Yes.
pictures of this.
Yes,
I
I'm
need
sure we have
pictures.
some. We have some. And this was locally in
Really?
in Merrick.
Hiking in Merrick where there are dwarf goats.
Norman Leafy Preserve. They have
Oh,
Nigerian dwarf goats.
really?
Yes.
And now they have foxes.
Oh, I
Oh, there's
haven't
foxes
seen the
all over
foxes.
Long Island.
They have,
Yeah.
and they also have the
The turkeys?
they have the wild turkeys. Yes. So
Okay.
we had an interesting nature walk.
Field trip.
That's
Yes.
right.
And we saw some beautiful views of
Yeah.
Long Island.
Yeah.
So it was great. It was something I had never done, something Dr. Michele opened me up to, and we had some friends along with us, and it was a great experience.
And then we even took it another step forward because Allison likes to travel. I like to travel too. We went to JFK Airport for when they had their run/walk
You
on the
mentioned that
runway.
before.
And Rich is going to go
I'll
with
be
us
there.
April
I
9th.
will be
All
there.
right.
But I mean,
2017.
But what
I'll
we
be there.
did was after we did the walk/run, we had to eat.
Right.
So
we
You
went out
do.
to eat.
You have
Yes.
to. Right. But
So-
then again, you didn't go out to eat and pile up the plate with all kinds of unhealthy things.
Of course not.
No, we had
That was
balance.
not
There was
convincing.
definitely some balance.
That was not convincing at all. But you gotta get those carbs back in. You gotta recharge your body. I know you gotta refill the battery.
Yes. But going back to health goals,
Health goals.
we need to have a health goal for 2017.
Or I would say a realistic health goal.
Of course, it's always a realistic goal.
No, people sometimes, if you've led a life of a certain style, and then can come in and say, you know what, for next year I'm gonna drop 50 pounds.
Well, you're a guy.
No,
If
I'm saying
no, but I'm
overall.
saying you're a guy. So if a guy comes and says we're going to drop 50 pounds,
Without a
as
plan.
soon as they say that, they've already lost 25.
Yeah, that's
Because that's how fast you guys lose weight.
their metabolism.
But I'm sorry for interrupting
I'm not
you.
going to deny that totally. But still, to do it, you have to do have a realistic plan.
Most definitely.
A healthy plan, because I'm sure you would say, just sit there and say you want to drop 50 pounds in a year. You got to do that the right way. Otherwise, either you're going to get yourself sick, right?
Yes.
Or if you were to accomplish that goal, 3 months later, you're going to put back half of it. So whatever health goals you set for yourself have to be realistic. I would
Yes.
say. We've
And
all
I
been
think you
there.
have to enlist your friends
Yes.
and family to be a part of that journey with you. I think you probably, the stats, there's probably greater success when you bring people along and you have an accountability
Yep.
partner
Yep.
to do it with you. I know I follow, a lot of your posts, as you're preparing for a marathon, and you're always soliciting your friends to keep you accountable as you're preparing for your runs.
But, I work that two ways. So one way is I'm trying to make sure people hold me accountable, but I'm also trying to make sure my team stays healthy.
Okay, that's
I've been
we know your tricks.
I've been
All right.
to Dr. Michelle's house for dinner, and at the end of dinner, she was like, "Let's put on some music."
Get dancing,
and
start
they bring
burning
out
some
that
calories.
strobe light.
Oh no!
Yes, we have a strobe light.
And a disco ball.
No, just a strobe light.
And we all get up and dance.
All right.
And we get a little exercise in the midst of us just,
That is good.
enjoying each other's company.
So it's finding the balance and finding the right people, setting the goals.
Yep.
And then staying committed, because that's sometimes something that's very hard to do. And you have to see yourself losing the 50 pounds in a year. Because maybe you're going to a class reunion, Rich, and you want to show them the muscles that are still there.
That are still there.
And I like that where you say seeing yourself.
Yeah,
I know a lot of
visualize
people
it.
work on vision boards, or they put up pictures of what is it that you want to look like. So I think as we transition and we move ahead to 2017, what do you want to look like? What does 2017 look like for you?
Right.
Yes.
It's okay. So, are you running the New York Marathon in 2017? Dr. Michelle?
I did not do the 9+1. I actually started the 9 races and volunteering one to qualify for it. But unfortunately, I was training for the Chicago Marathon, and then I had to study for my family practice board recertification, and I had to work.
So
be
the
there
answer
for
is
the
no.
family. So the answer is unfortunately no. But I can still try and qualify if I find a sponsor.
Ah, okay.
So, I'm not out there saying no, but, it's still something that is attainable for me.
Yep.
But for 2017, as far as what I want to do, I see myself being an author because I'm working on the book. Got a little delayed, thank you. Got a little delayed because of prior things that I had to do. But seeing myself as an author, doing more public speaking, more radio, more TV, that's where I see myself.
Okay.
But at the same time, I see myself still exercising, maybe running as much, but still maintaining a healthy lifestyle.
Great.
Okay.
Well, that's good. We know you'll always maintain the healthy lifestyle. I don't think that you would ever.
I don't think that's ever going to go away.
No, that wouldn't. Never. Never. And being the more public Dr. Michelle out there. So one day I can say, I know her. I knew her when.
Yeah.
Oh, you still know me.
I still know her. She don't answer my calls, but I still know. No, I know Dr. Michelle would never be like that. I know.
Yeah. So for 2017, what are you looking forward to, Rich?
I'm just looking forward to just a stable life. Really, not that, again, 2016 was actually, for me personally, was a smooth year. I really have no complaints. But, the kids are getting older. So now, I still have one that'll be back and forth because he goes to school kind of locally. My oldest, he's just out of the house more than he's at home these days. He sleeps home and goes out. He works. Everything is going okay there. Again, my middle out in Texas, starting his life really, really getting things going there. So, it's 2017 will be more me and my wife. Finding things to do, expanding our life after children life, I guess.
Okay.
So anything that you want to focus in on as far as a goal for you?
I won't set it yet. I want to take a trip somewhere. Take a nice trip. I know where she wants to go.
A big trip?
Yeah.
Hawaii?
I know where she wants to
Does
go.
she wanna
She
go to
wants to go to
Hawaii?
Paris.
Oh,
She
Paris?
has this thing
beautiful.
for Paris.
Yeah, that would be nice. She could do the Paris Marathon, and I can go with you, and
Yes, and I'll
Allison
be
can
there.
travel with us too.
Well, I'll tell you what, the 3 y'all go. The 3 y'all can go, and I'll. But that would be the thing. So we'll see if I can make something happen along those lines. But otherwise, stay healthy. I didn't go to the gym this weekend.
No, that's fine. You had a busy week.
It's the holidays, and it's there's not going too overboard, not going overboard at all.
Well,
actually,
balance.
But there's balance. A lot of work parties. My guys being taken out, going out. So it's good. This is just a good time of year overall.
Oh,
Sounds good.
And Allison, for you,
For me, 2017, I want it to be the year of being open to new experiences. So I am looking forward to trying some things in 2017 that I didn't do in 2016. I want to definitely read more. I want to travel more. I want to just do some things that are different.
So where do you think you would want to travel to besides our trip to Paris?
Well, we definitely have our trip to Paris.
And Ted paying for us to go to Cuba. That's Ted Hicks, if anyone is not clear about the Ted that we're talking about.
Definitely looking to go to Europe. I have a good friend that I grew up with who lives in Berlin, Germany. So I'd love to visit her and visit, some other countries in the area while I'm there.
There's a marathon in Berlin.
Well,
she knows all the marathons. She knows all of the marathons.
It's one of the world major ones.
I have a very close friend that I grew up with who lives in Berlin. I'm sure she would host us, and we'd have a grand time in Berlin.
I just missed the lottery for that one.
Allison's going to Berlin.
I would be open for that. I'm kind of really interested in that Eat, Pray, Love trip.
Okay.
So I'd really want to visit Spain and Italy and eat and drink my way through Europe.
Wow.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, it does.
Wow. Yeah, Allison told me about the marathon that they have in France, where each mile they have wine and cheese
and food.
For the runners.
Yes. I would even sign up. I would qualify for that marathon just to indulge.
You see that?
Run a mile, eat some wine and cheese.
That's right.
Run another mile, have some more wine and cheese.
Exactly.
I think
because it's about the experience.
Don't make the 26 miles.
No, but it's the experience of
But
doing
you try.
Yeah, you
try.
You try. Okay. That's an interesting one. Okay.
All right. So in closing, I guess, do we have any last words?
No, this was, again, it was an enjoyable year. I'm glad to have met Dr. Michele this year. Been sharing the mic. This has been good. Thanks for the opportunities, Ted. We all appreciate what's been going on here. Just hoping that everyone has a successful, prosperous, healthy year coming forward. And
then
that's really it.
Rich, how do people get in contact with you?
It's still the same. If you're on Facebook, I am facebook.com/TheRealRichieV. Or if it's on Twitter, it's RichieV_NY.
Okay.
And you, Dr. Michele, with one L?
It is AskDr Michele with one L.com. That's my website. And then on Facebook, it's Dr. Dr. Michele with one L, middle initial C, last name REED. And my email is askdrmichele@askdrmichele.com. And my last way, I guess, if you want to reach the office, it's MS Family Medicine, 516-794-2200, extension number 8. We're family practice doctors. We see everyone from birth all the way to geriatrics, 2 locations, Garden City and Rosedale. And Allison, if anyone would like to get in contact with you, because you are a wealth of information, and we only did a little pinch of it.
Barely scraped the surface.
So feel free just to tell us how we can reach you. And I guess in any last minute words or tips, especially since you deal with branding and media, what we as the general public should keep in mind.
Well, I think people should definitely pay attention to social media. I think moving into 2017, we have a new president that will likely be a tweeter-in-chief. So I think we should definitely be open to social media. If you'd like to reach me, I am on Facebook, Allison Johnson on Facebook. And you can reach me at alliemjohnson@gmail.com. Right. But I'm excited for 2017, and I think it's a year that we should all be open to new experiences.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't really touch much on the election because we had talked about it during the year. We talked about even the effects of depression, but I'm glad that you sort of tied that in with the use of Twitter. And at the same time, we did talk about our future president or our president-elect who will be sworn in
January 20th.
Yes.
20th, I said 21st. Yeah.
And we'll have, a couple of shows before
we will.
the actual inauguration.
This is the last one for the year.
The last live one.
The last live one.
And we got dumped, all three of us.
That's all right. We can still get together.
Yes, that's
We can even be here. Just the mics don't have to be on.
But I think, in terms of just, mentioning the election briefly, I think regardless as to what side of the table you sit,
Yep.
I think it's important for us all to become more involved and more engaged in the process moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
But also, like you were saying, the media and social media, don't look at everything you see and take it for the truth.
Right.
Regardless of whether or not these allegations that, this twisted and changed how the election results turned out, this is just a common sense kind of thing. In the old days, you'd say, well, if someone just walked up to your front door and said, I got $1 million for you, here, just sign this and take it. Would you? Of course you wouldn't. Don't believe what you see on social media, on every website. If it just says what you believe and everything you read that pops up on your stream aligns with what your beliefs are, there's probably a certainty that
And challenge
accurate.
yourselves to read some different news sources.
Yes.
We should really challenge ourselves to go beyond what we're accustomed to. And
Are you saying we shouldn't be watching Fox all the time?
You're right. Get all sides. Get both sides of the story.
so that you can have an informed view.
Very true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you were upset as to the outcome of the election, that needs to be the motivation to really next time continue to vote. And if you're not registered to vote,
Get registered.
to vote.
Definitely.
And if you're upset with it and you didn't vote, don't say anything.
Yep.
Everyone, again, happy holidays. Thanks for joining us this year. We look forward to seeing you in 2017.
Yes. See you all 2017. And thank you very much, Allison.
Oh, thank you. for
Thank you,
having
Allison.
me.
See the stream down your face when you lose something you cannot replace. Tears stream down your face.
The views expressed in the previous program did not necessarily represent those of the staff, management, or owners of WGBB.